Hey everyone, we're going to get into the week 5 Flipgrid, which covers chapter 3 and 4. For chapter 3, the two vocabulary words I chose was culture shock and imaginary audience. And so culture shock is kind of a sense of confusion when you encounter a new environment and it's kind of new behaviors, different expectations than what has been learned. And so an example of that would be like students entering a new school, even at any age, if each school has different expectations, if they transfer schools or a new kindergartner going into school, they're going to be kind of in a culture shock because they're used to what their parents' behavior expectations are versus what the school's behavior expectations are. Another example would kind of be like an exchange student. If they came and stayed with a family here, their expectations are going to be different in their country versus what they're staying with the family here. So it's going to be a culture shock to them because it's something they're not going to be used to. The next term that I chose was an imaginary audience, and that's where they believe that they are the center of attention in a social situation. So lots of high school and middle school students tend to think that they're the center of attention. If there's something, everyone's always looking at them. If something minor is wrong with them, they think that everybody is going to notice it. If they have a zit, if they have a hole in their shirt, just any little thing, they think that everyone's going to be looking at them and that they're going to notice it. So in chapter 4, the terms I chose was dialect and socioeconomic status. So a dialect is kind of a particular language that has unique pronunciation and grammar structures. So we live here in the Midwest, so we kind of have some slang terms, kind of a southern drawl. Some examples would be like saying y'all or yuns or warsh. So that's kind of just a few things that we tend to say here. So for socioeconomic status, its definition is a social and economic standing in the society. And so that encompasses family income, parents' education, occupation. So an example would be like if a family had a low socioeconomic status, they're going to have less income, their parents are going to have lower paying jobs, and therefore the students are going to have less opportunities. And someone with a higher socioeconomic status is going to have a higher income and more opportunities. And so the next part of our Flipgrid was to have some key point of chapter 4. And so something that I thought was interesting was talking about cultural competence and how we all need to be culturally aware. And each thing makes us different and unique. And so kind of like when I talked in chapter 4 about the term dialect, language is a cultural difference. And so that kind of makes us different. So we have a southern accent. And so often people with southern accents or southern draws are stereotyped as undereducated, and so that's not always the case, but we all need to become more aware and understanding that that's not always the case. And then for the next part of our Flipgrid was to discuss the videos we watched. And so I think that it is really sad that not everyone has an equal opportunity to education. I think it's sad that they don't have the funding to disperse equally. It's just not fair. Those kids didn't have usable books. The teachers weren't certified to teach certain subjects, and it's just really, really sad. So, no, I don't believe that everyone has an equal opportunity to access to quality education, because obviously it is not equally distributed, and it's just really sad. And so the next part of the question was my racial distribution in my high school. I would say that it was probably 95% white. We did have a couple black students, and but other than that, it was basically a white school. Let's see. The next part of the question was our test, and I feel really, really awful about my score. It said that I had, my response, it said a strong preference for European Americans over African Americans, and I honestly, I do not believe that. I don't. I mean, I was raised in a white area, but I still don't feel like I stereotype or have any strong opinions towards any black individuals. So I don't honestly agree with my score, but I do feel bad that it says that. And so where do stereotypes and bases come from? Or biases? So I think that most of our stereotypes and biases come from the area we were raised in and how we were raised. You are kind of blocked from having different views if you are raised in an area with certain opinions, and so I think it comes from where you were raised and how you were raised. And how can it impact students? It can impact the students by you not being aware of the things you're doing, the things that you're saying, and so often students could get their feelings hurt, or just be upset about something that was said that you didn't realize that you said because it's just something that you was raised up saying, or something that you're not aware of. And so thank you guys for taking the time to listen to my Flipgrid, and have a good week.